Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us in this digital Oppdragsrapport, digital report from a very interesting project we have here at the door, the greenhouse in a bigger perspective. I want to remind those that have joined that the session will be recorded. So you are aware of it. And
Du har Wangen, den maskinteho der I fengselsjenta.
Sorry, I think somebody may want to mute their microphone. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, we have the presentation of master thesis, master Oppgave, from a very flink gent engineer, Helene, on this greenhouse in a bigger perspective. Due to other meetings we're gonna have, normally we have the student, well, not the more student, the engineer, because graduated master engineer by now, presenting, and then it comes other people involved in the project with their comments. But we're gonna make slight change where we're gonna have some survey, which is one of the stakeholders to the project from TRAX Norway. He's gonna have some words first, and then later on we pass on to Helena and Vincent, which is also another of the stakeholders, TRAX Ghana, and Robert, which was the mentor for Helena. So without further chat from my side, Sam, please, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Francisco. My name is Sam Sabe, and I represent TRAX Norway, as Francisco said, which is a sister organization to TRAX Ghana. I hope that this presentation, which has been prepared by both organizations, would contextualize the master project, which Helena will present shortly, and put in a bigger perspective. My hope is that at the end of it all, you understand that this is more than just a greenhouse. And I also understand why this project is quite important for TRAX. Yep. So 3 of the most important goals set by UNESCO, that's the United Nations Organization for Education, Scientific and Cultural Collaboration in 2022, was to ensure that every child had access to compulsory primary education, and as well that the disparities in education between boys and girls was actually eliminated by 2005. And this just lists a number of one of the 3 goals set by the UNESCO team in 2000. So I'm not going to read through those. This is going to be available. You can have a look at those goals later. In 2023, that is 23 years old, this shows you the demographic map of Ghana, which tells a sad story. This map, which is a couple of years older, but the situation isn't different on the ground at the moment, shows a large disparity between the sexes when it comes to education. And I will show you that TRAX Norway and TRAX Ghana are mainly concerned what is happening up here in the upper east and upper west regions of Ghana. This shows you that women, and by large, are the losers when it comes to education. About 40% of the women here have no education. If you compare that to what happens in the south, you'll have 10% maybe in the eastern region, and even a lower number in some other areas presently. It shows you that this disparity is actually something that we shouldn't allow. And if you go to the upper west region, almost half of the population of women in the upper west region have no education. And as I mentioned, this disparity translates into levels of poverty in these regions. Now, but the map I showed you is actually a good map of what we call the urban-rural divide in the quality of education we have in Ghana. So it isn't that people aren't getting education in the north. The quality of education is also very poor if you compare the north and south. So this shows you a typical classroom scenario where, for instance, a teacher has to teach Microsoft, applications by drawing on the board because they are not computers. In some schools, students have no seats, and when they have they even have seats, at times the textbooks which you need are non-existent. A published statistic over covering several schools in the areas where we operate show that a majority of girls drop out due to parental poverty. About 70% of the schools polled showed us girls drop out mainly because the parents cannot provide for them or because of teenage pregnancy. And the fact is that these two things, teenage pregnancy, parents' inability to provide for material, are interlinked. Now, TRAX found that, you know what, if we want to really get rid of parental poverty, and as well address this issue of dropouts, we need to be looking more closely at the girl education in these regions. And to quote known educationists from Ghana, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you are educating a whole nation. And this has been the motivation of TRAX in moving ahead with trying to fix this problem with girl education and high dropout rates and early pregnancy. So in consultation with the local communities, we sought to address the root causes of these issues. In 2016, we partnered with the Kavli Foundation in Bergen and assisted by Engineers Without Borders Norway. We created a novel scholarship scheme, which we call the TRAX Kavli Scholarship Scheme, which is mainly pro-girls. We try to give more of the scholarship to girls than to boys. The scheme is ongoing and help children from poor families, in fact, poorly endowed homes, to fund the cost of school material. However, teen pregnancies occur, as we found out, mainly during the long and prolonged holidays, up to about 3 months, when youth are out of school. And then funding simple things like sanitary pads becomes a problem because kids have no money to buy this, and some parents are unable to provide for them. So very often they would team up with boys, with older men who have money to provide for those things, and that is when unwanted pregnancies result. And we found out that, there are no provisions for youth jobs in these areas. So what we are doing to addressing the issue of unwanted pregnancies is to create avenues to provide safe jobs for the youth. And the greenhouse farming provides an answer to this. With this, we can provide summer jobs and train alternative livelihood technologies for young people. We can also hope that, with this project, it will be maybe the start of an adventure where we build on several greenhouse projects and then expand this to a larger area in our catchment area. So what the next phase does is provide us with a white paper on how we can do this best in the interest of the youth, the girl child education, and in promoting women in our society as a whole. So I won't take much time. This is a short introduction, but this gives you an idea about how important Helena's project has been for us. So with this, I say thank you for listening, and then I'll keep tuned to the key person for this presentation, who is Helena. Helena, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yes, I'm Helena, master student. I did a master in industrial economics and technology management. So I was looking for a master thesis with a project management perspective. And then I think it was in the end of 2021, now 2022, I contacted Engineers Without Borders. So last year, me and my student mentor, Robert, traveled to Ghana in September. And in Ghana, we met Vincent and his team from the Greenhouse project. So on my picture, it's Barikisu, the greenhouse manager, in the red t-shirt, and Victor, greenhouse assistant, in the orange one. So my title for the master thesis was TRAX Ghana's greenhouse production of bell peppers in northern Ghana. And the master thesis was a case study of TRAX Ghana's greenhouse project and how project management methods can support their planning phase. Then, yes, I had 2 research questions. The first one was, how did TRAX Ghana plan the greenhouse production of bell peppers in northern Ghana? And how can we support the greenhouse project for Engineers Without Borders in northern Ghana? And with these research questions, I selected to view the greenhouse project as an agricultural enterprise rather than a girl-child empowerment program. So this is an important limitation of the study because I selected one perspective of the project and focused on that, the project management perspective. So it doesn't have a social empowerment program focus. So that's important to have in mind. And then the interpretation of the findings related to the conducted planning phase lays the foundation for guiding how the planning phase can be supported. And establishing appropriate project management methods for the bell pepper production is particularly important for TRAX Ghana because they support their beneficiaries financially through the sales income from the bell peppers. So I believe that these research questions could help TRAX Ghana to achieve their project goals of supporting the girls. The thesis was a case study with mainly interviews and observations. Then just a short presentation of the literature. You can see the figure. It's project management is a wide literature perspective. So I chose to include project schedule management, cost management, and risk management. And the selection had some limitation because, for example, project stakeholder management is an important perspective for TRAX Ghana as a development project. The definition of project management is defined as the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. So it's just methods for helping the project to achieve their project goals. TRAX Ghana, as a development project, has the main objective to support people's lives through skills training and other livelihood programs. And these goals can be classified as soft goals, as they serve sustainable social and economic development. My thesis focus on more of a hard goals, as you can call it. For instance, costs, schedule, and progress as a business. And literature states that a profit motive is usually missing in development projects. So that's different from industrial and commercial projects. And several authors in literature list issues in managing development projects, and they often say that development projects can miss realistic and current project schedule, budget. They have poor control mechanisms for early detection of problems and poor or no risk analysis. And also they blame them for having poor estimates of time and costs. So based on this literature, I thought it was an interesting perspective to follow during my stay in Ghana. Yeah, and to understand the challenges of the project, during the interviews in Ghana, we made a SWOT analysis, and yeah, the main reason for that was to map the project complexity and to understand how and why they did the planning as they did. And this analysis was based on interviews with the greenhouse manager and greenhouse director. And we collected the opportunities, threats, strengths, and weaknesses with producing bell peppers in Bolgatanga. And the most important things are that the most important opportunity is that bell pepper is a niche market in northern Ghana. It's very difficult to grow bell peppers, especially the yellow and red ones, because of the climate. So having a greenhouse structure makes it possible to do that. A big threat is that it's limited customers. It's known as a poor area, so the most customers buy in smaller quantities. And also it's a fragmented marketing structure, and it's difficult to sell in kilograms, and it's a big variation between the prices from different sellers. Yes, also strengths with the greenhouse structure is that it makes them able to grow bell peppers. They are kept from external threats, and yeah, they make the climate easier to grow it. Also, a big weaknesses with the project is that greenhouse production causes high investment and operating expenses, and it's time-consuming to produce bell pepper. It requires yeah, inspection, and the staff has to be available at all time. Also, a weaknesses is that with a production and limited customers, TRAX Ghana could benefit of having storage facilities, which it's not available today. Yeah, so the SWOT analysis made it possible to see different perspectives of the project as a production and a business perspective. So it has clear positive and negative or challenging perspectives. Yeah, then I go to my first research question. How did they plan the greenhouse production of bell peppers? The first one is project schedule management. Then the greenhouse manager had agricultural education, and she had developed a schedule for the production based on her knowledge from education. So, and the interviews detected that all the staff had the same insight into the schedule. Also the beneficiaries, that the girls that were there on Saturdays. So we talked about it, and I proposed that the greenhouse project could benefit from sharing the schedule, for example, by making Gantt charts, and use this as a communication tool, both internal and external. Internal between the project staff, and external to stakeholders and also to customers, to share this knowledge, and to make this schedule available for everyone. Then they can get a holistic overview of the production. Also, if they in the future want to expand the project by adding additional tunnels, it will help them it will be easier to plan. Also, they can use the schedule to develop cost estimates and a source for input to detect risk events. So my recommendation for the schedule management was to use what they already had and build on it, and also share it so they can get more benefits from it. Then I saw on cost management, and we did develop a financial analysis of the operating costs. The project has the goal to become a sustainable project. Hence, they have to cover their operating costs. And based on the SWOT analysis, we saw that it can be challenging, especially in a startup phase, until they have established a customer base, and they may in the future consider to send the bell peppers to Accra. So we did a Excel sheet with the budget and where they could calculate their price for bell peppers per kilograms, and also get a holistic overview of the costs, and they can use it to document their income when it's time for that. And the reason for this is that it's important for the project to ensure financial support of the beneficiaries, as the beneficiaries are supported through the income of the bell peppers. So the cost is an important part of the project. Also, I recommended that they use a budget or finance analysis to communicate with stakeholders and clarify expectations. If, for instance, if they want to apply for more funding, or just so they make sure that everyone knows the cost of doing the project, and to plan how much cost they need in the planning phase. Maybe not only for the greenhouse structure, but also for covering operating costs in some years in a startup. And also the financial parts are related to the soft and hard objectives. And it's important to balance it in the planning phase, so that this project can be sustainable in any way. Also, they have a challenge because the bell peppers are fresh and vegetables, so they have to sell them in a short time after producing. And also then, because of the climate, the price can vary, and it's difficult to plan all the costs and income. But I think a financial analysis and a budget could help them. So my recommendation was to build on the information that I already have and develop it, and also share it with stakeholders. The last one was the risk assessment. The project had already done several risk measures. They had identified risk. For instance, they had set up a fence around the greenhouse facility because of animals and related risks. So they had a clear understanding of risks in the project, or in the environment, and also inside the greenhouse facility. So I actually did it when I came home from Ghana. I developed a risk assessment, a template for them to have a standardized approach to their risk assessment. It's just a simple template where you rate the risks, so you can prioritize the most important ones. And also you can document it to see how the identified risks and measures develop later in the project. So they had done a risk job, but they hadn't used any templates or documented it in writing. So here also I recommended to use these kind of tools to document it and keep it for learning internal, and also to communicate with stakeholders. Because, for instance, a risk that ventilation in the greenhouse facility, because the climate is a very huge and serious risk. And if they can identify this risk, they can later maybe apply for funding for expanding the ventilation system. So it's just a tool that can help them communicate, and also internal in projects. Yeah, my research question number 2 is on one way a summary of the first one. And based on the findings, my recommendation for this thesis is that we can support Engineers Without Borders in Ghana through project management methodology and training. And that's a recommendation from a business and production perspective, because they have a great foundation which they can build on to develop their project management methods. And also if in the future the project expands, they can also use the tools to get a higher level of control and ensure that the projects are sustainable. Then I think it's the last slide. If it's any questions from the audience, or if Robert wants to add something.
Could I suggest that we pass first to, we can hear Robert's comment as the mentor role, and then we can open up for questions. Will that be okay?
Yes. Very well done, Helena. It was very interesting. And I just want to say thank you that I was able to be your mentor, and for this opportunity to go to Ghana and the team, the whole team there, TRAX and the greenhouse. What a great job they did. We saw it with our own eyes. The greenhouse is there and was producing beautiful bell peppers. They were just in the starting phase. It was their first growing season. So I'm interested in hearing if they have some experience with the dry season from the TRAX team in Volga. My only other comment was that yes, I think Helena was right to highlight the problem of choosing, is this a school or is it a business? Or maybe it's both, because I think it's possible to combine education with income, but it's a delicate balance. And so it's good to know beforehand how much of a school your business is, or how much of a business your school is, and then you can plan accordingly. And also, it's good to know if you're still in a prototype phase, because it's still early days for greenhouse in Ghana. I think it's the only large greenhouse in northern Ghana. So they're doing something that no one else has tried before. So of course there will be a period when they're learning and adjusting. So at what point do you go from a prototype to profit enterprise? And the third thing that struck me was this the rural versus urban. I think that's very important also. The greenhouse is located quite far from the urban center. Bolgatonga. So it's out in a very rural area. And that has challenges, but it also is one of the main reasons why it was established there was the social aspect. But it makes transport, the logistics, maybe a bit more expensive and more complicated. And so there's a trade-off there. I don't have any answers, but maybe that's a theme for another master's student. Vincent, I just want to say hi, and how are things? If you have anything to add about dry season experiences and how are things going generally?
Thank you, Helena and Robert. Nice see your faces after your visit to Ghana.
Nice to hear your voice.
Yes, great. And thanks so much for coming over. As you've rightly indicated, the project is actually on the pilot phase. This is the first time we are actually doing this. And I like the comment you made that there will be learning and adjustment as we go along. So your time coincided with our first production cycle. And I'm happy we are just entering, or we are in the second production cycle, which equally coincides with the dry season. And one thing you help us to be able to do is you bring us temperature, the instrument to use in taking the temperature in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
Because hitherto, we don't have a thermometer in the greenhouse. But now we are able to take the temperature to know how much heat we have there. Because I was telling you, our main challenge, or what we want to monitor, is to see the heat we have in March and April, which is the peak season of the dry season in northern Ghana. Just some few days, Barikisu was able to record about 47 degrees in the greenhouse.
Oh.
Yes, 47 degrees. Notwithstanding, the green pepper is doing well. It has started fruiting. The only observation is that because of the high temperature, sometimes the flowers keep dropping. So that is the first observation. You know, we said we'll get to know better as we move along. So one, the thermometer is able to help us to identify, to know the temperature, which sometimes is very high. Number two, what's the implication? It means the flowers, as it's fruiting, some of the flowers keep dropping because of maybe the high temperature. So like Helena mentioned, this will help us to maybe be able to make a better design of the greenhouse in incorporating something like a ventilation facility going forward. So that brings to bear your issue of learning as you go ahead. So I think your research is timely. It's very helpful to us. It will help us in our going forward planning and everything, and adjusting as we move along to get better results as we move from the pilot to becoming stable and to be able to see the future and to see how we can use the income to sustain the girl child education. So this will be my preliminary comments, and also to say thank you for your observation and your comment and your recommendation. To us, is very helpful, even from this very beginning. And we hope to bring on board other issues, look at them critically, and then be able to adjust as we move along. Yeah.
Thanks. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
The high temperatures are concerning, but you have a lot of solar power, so
Yeah.
you could conceivably get a ventilation system going there, and you wouldn't have to pay for electricity because you have so much solar power.
Yeah. Our fear was that maybe with the heat, the bell pepper will not fruit, but that isn't the case. It's still fruiting. The only thing, some of the few flowers are dropping, which means, like Helena mentioned, the greenhouse actually is good for all year production, because it can equally be used during the rainy season, and equally is doing producing the bell pepper during even this dry season. So I think the issue of whether we can use it throughout the year has now to us been confirmed that greenhouse is capable of supporting our all year round production.
That's very interesting. I think there is room for another master's to look at the more technical aspects. I mean,
Yes.
Helena's focus was very interesting. It was on, right, Helena, project management, and
Yeah.
That's
but
correct.
the more technical, I'm an engineer, the more technical aspects are there. What you're doing and with TRAX in the greenhouse has never been done before in that climate in Ghana.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, how about the sales? Have you the crop from the first growing season? Has it been? I understand you have to give a lot of it away to promote the market.
Yes. So the first production, we didn't have a problem in terms of sales, but that also might be due to maybe the small volume we have. But like Helena mentioned, if we move along and we begin to produce in larger volumes, then that is why we again need to look at the strategy. Can the existing market around Bolga be able to sustain that, be able to mop up all that we have? And also, if there's a glut, what do we do? Because we don't have a storage facility, like Helena mentioned, that again brings to bear the need to start maybe looking at external markets and building that market linkages, so that in case we are unable to sell within and around Bolga areas, then we need to explore other markets externally. So I again come to the point of learning as we go along. You produce, find the first cycle we're able to sell. We were able to sell easily because we don't have so much on our hand. But as you move along, in case you're able to produce so much, what happens to the volume? So do you need to go beyond the local or the Bolga in its environment markets and now move to external markets? These are the things we need to quickly begin to look at as we upscale our production level.
Yeah. If it, you're learning so much now and you're breaking new ground. I mean, it's, you remember the idea we all discussed was maybe you could link with the agricultural university there, college.
Exactly. We talk about a lot of things. Yeah. Really. Yeah.
And you could help them, anyone else wishing to establish in that climate. Well, you have maybe what Helena has developed, this risk analysis. They could go through that and see, okay, can they do it?
Yeah, exactly. And Helena, you also remember we talked about there could be a gap between the production and then the sale or the production cycle, because we have only one tunnel. Because if you produce and you start selling, you need to wait until that cycle finishes before you start again the production cycle. So that gap is still there. We need to see how we can bridge it if we want to talk about all year round production. Robert, I think you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, because we have the production cycle where you need to produce and you need to also start harvesting. So between the production and then the harvesting, there could be a gap, 3 months gap. But if you want to have all year round without any gap created, then there should be another tunnel. By the time this one is, you are almost finished harvesting, then this one is also start producing to be able to just follow the link. If not, there will always be that kind of gap being created in terms of the production and then the harvesting cycles.
Yeah, but you only have one tunnel now, so
one big tunnel for now.
Yeah, but if you can time the gap, is it possible to time the gap so that it comes in the wet season when there's a glut of everything is available in Bolga? Can you make it so that then you just for 2-3 months you just clean and get ready and
so far as the bell pepper is concerned, it's a niche crop, as you've really identified and mentioned. So even if it coincides with the glut, still bell pepper will not be in glad because it's a niche crop we've selected.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's a special crop. And then you pretty much aware of why that was selected, to give us a competitive advantage in terms of we having a readily market or people who want to buy our bell pepper will be able to look for it and be able to buy from us. That is why we selected a crop which is not so much common that would just be in the market throughout, but it's something that people may need but not readily available, but we have the competitive advantage.
Yeah, that was I think that was a good idea because you can get a higher price per kilo. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Heidi, do you have a question? So that your hand is up.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, thank you. But I just wanted to say thank you, Helena and Robert and all of you for a very interesting presentation. And I really like the approach that you take in, both you, Helena, and also Vincent and TRAX, saying that we want to look at the project management and the business, because it's true that a lot of small-scale humanitarian projects has the social aspect of using something to do something good, but that it's also to look at it as business and project management. I think is very healthy. And just one comment before I take the question. Also this, that it is the only greenhouse tunnel of this size in North Ghana. That was new to me. And I absolutely see the interesting things in looking on the technical sides in a new assignment, or to really, because if this could work here, maybe it could work several places like this. But what I was going to back to was, Helena, and when you were going through your SWOT analysis and recommendation and stuff, did I understand that you kind of gave some tools for the greenhouse manager to use, and or for the, could you just say a few words about that?
Yes, we developed a schedule in Excel. It's a Gantt chart. Then you can see all the activities and combine them with weeks. So you can, because the Wakisu had the schedule written down in her own books. So I just digitalized the schedule and shared it as an Excel sheet. Also the risk tool is also made in Excel based on, so you can rate the risks and rate the measure, the risk after the measure to see if the measure works or not. So it's quite simple tools for a startup. Also the financial analysis we did in Excel. Me, Vincent, and Robert in Ghana, we developed it together.
Very good. If I can ask a question myself here, a bit from the business perspective, you understand that the production can be such that may saturate the near market, or maybe more than the demand on the near market. So I have two questions. One is, can other products be considered for producing within the same installations, in order that, for example, divide the capacity, let me call it the length of the tunnel, into, let's say, two, and it had a smaller production of the bell peppers. I don't like bell peppers, but many people like it. And the other half in another products. I don't know, something that is suitable according to the local demands. Then it's limiting a little bit the production, reducing the risk of having excess in one product that may not be sold, and then another product that may also have a demand in the area.
We talked a lot about it in Ghana, actually. And also they have a test they had a test in the greenhouse with the cherry tomatoes, which is also a niche product.
Okay.
And also if they expand the project with another tunnel, they will probably grow another crop. Also
Okay.
outside, I think they grow cucumbers, if
Okay.
I'm correct.
And the other part of the question, or the second question I have, or comment, I don't know, is with this thing of finding the good timing between production and harvesting and so on. I don't know whether it may be an idea, or maybe you guys have done it already, most likely, to divide the tunnel into sections, and then you start cultivating one section, and then in a phase out timing the next section, and a next phase time the third section, such that there is the sum of all of them will be a constant production, although there will be some areas that are not producing in a given time, but the other one is, and so on. That I don't know whether it may be possible to consider in such, because it's also the cost benefit on the section that is not producing well, then what that. But it's a natural aspect of the process that, okay, between harvesting and cultivating and so on, I'm not very familiar with timings and so on, but perhaps it could be thought as a line production, that okay, this start now, and then this start some days, weeks, some month later, and then the third one, and then it will be, the aim will be to have a constant output. Also, that may limit the capacity of production, but then if there is a risk, it will also address the risk of having an excess production that may not be absorbed in the market. I don't know, it's just a thought I had from my own business experience there.
I also agree. We talked about it, but the structure today is producing 3,000 kilograms each year. And then you have some food loss, and then you have some marketing. So maybe if the scale was bigger, they can do it in that way. What do you believe, Vincent and Robert?
I think that's a good question for Barikisu. She's the agricultural expert, but it's a very interesting idea, Francisco. So yeah, but I think Barikisu, who's the expert, she can maybe answer that.
Yeah, we'll look at it, and we'll take it on board and look at it. The only thing I know is because of even the way the watering pipes, tunnels have been laid, you know, you might have the watering condition of maybe seedlings different from when they are growing, the crops are growing. So we need to look at, maybe like Helena was saying, if we have a second, maybe another tunnel, we could focus more on experimenting on that than the current situation. But also it depends upon, as we move along, if we increase production, what happens? So we have room to adjust as we learn as we move along. So we'll take all these suggestions into consideration on board, and then be able to adjust. I think Barikisu being the person who is also on the center of this, who has an experience in greenhouse technology, could also be able to take this piece of advice and be able to adjust accordingly. So we'll look at it. Thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, sorry, Robert, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Helena, remember we looked at the sales per week? No, it was per month, yeah. And we looked at how many would be spoiled, how many kilograms would be spoiled due to lack of market. And so they would be too old. If they're more than 2 weeks old, I think they're considered spoiled, something like that. So so we have also a little tool that can show you how fast you have to get things to market. And so the key is to have a market that's always ready to take what you produce every month. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a fantastic project, and very well done, very impressive. All of you, especially Helena, which has been the hardworking element in the team. I'm Barikisu, but okay, she's not here, unfortunately. So But yeah, is there any other questions or comments from those attending the presentation? One at a time, not all of them together. Doesn't seem to be much. Well, okay. Well, people thinks I want to take the opportunity to remind all of you in let me check my calendar. Is it 1 week or 2 weeks time that we have another interesting presentation? So 2 weeks time. All right, Heidi? Yes, in 2 weeks time, we have another interesting presentation also from a project under the program Master Mermening and TRAX. This has to do with water quality from Atle and Eric. So please mark in your calendars. I will not forgive you if you are not there. Okay, exceptions allowed. But that it will be also very, very interesting. I have had some little insights to the project, and you will be impressed. I promise you. If not, I invite you a dinner, Mexican dinner.
I would love that.
In any case, you have to come here, Vincent.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of ideas come to my mind with the project. I mean, I'm not agriculture. I come from Mexico, the North Mexico, which in the north of Mexico, we have the two mountain ranges coming from US, the western and the eastern, the Sierra Madres and so on. And my family comes from within the mountain range, which is the desertic area. On the other side, each side of the mountain ranges, you have the influence from the Gulf of Mexico and the other one from the Pacific, which is a bit humid. But in the middle, it has a desertic, semi-desertic area, which also have seen some of these challenges. And there is a lot of things, hydrophonia, for example, which you need a bit more water to cultivate and perhaps a very better control some. But this idea that can be explored in a given moment. And yeah, it triggers a lot of questions, but maybe for other master theses for assignments for other students. I guess Helene wants to graduate and not to continue. You can continue researching, but not after graduation. Yeah. So I just want to congratulate you, Helene, on fantastic work. Very well done. Thank you very much. I'm sure.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I'm sure many people will benefit from your efforts, and then again, it's another example of how we can share our knowledge with people that doesn't have had the privilege of having it as we have it, and enrich their lives in a way that it's not possible to quantify, but it is very greatly rewarded for us as we can do it, and for them as the benefactors. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert, for willing to support Helene and be all along. I mean, even when you say that you were going down and in Accra and going to this other school or this other industrial area there to see what you can learn and see, I had to ask Sam, is it safe that he goes along there? Yeah, don't worry, Francisco. Yeah. So it was a very, very nice initiative. Well, you know, we want you back, guys.
Yeah.
In one piece. So it was a very nice initiative. Thank you very much. And last but not least, TRAX, Vincent and Sam, thank you very much for being a fantastic partners and willing to cooperate and go along with all the needs. So I can see Heidi is almost crying now.
I told you when we were coming that they are in safe hands. I said they'll come in full and they'll go back in full, you know. I mentioned that to you.
Yeah. It was great. Thank you very much. It was fantastic. By the way, I'm going to Gambia this month.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to a farm there. My daughter is volunteering there at a farm. Similar concept to what you're thinking of at the farm, because Vincent and TRAX, they
Yeah.
have plans, yes, as a sort of like an educational, what to call it, like a center, a community center, something.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, so if I learn anything, I'll let you know
That'll be
about
great.
how they do things.
Yeah. Okay, that'll be fine. That'll be great.
If there are no other questions, I don't see any hands up or so. I just, yeah, wait, Vincent.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, just to use this opportunity to thank Engineers Without Borders for actually funding the greenhouse project. I want to thank the CEO, Marianne, and all of you for your support. I want to thank TRAX Norway, our sister organization, for being always in touch to make sure we facilitate all this together. I want to thank Helena. I want to thank Robert for coming over for this project. I want to thank Elisa, who started coordinating before she went on maternity leave. Then Heidi, I want to thank you for coming in. Then Francisco came in. All of you, you have been so fantastic. I want to use this opportunity to say it's so lovely, so nice working with all of you. And we look forward to such a positive, so fantastic collaboration going forward. And to say thank you, all of you, for all that you have been doing. We are so grateful at TRAX Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
nice, kind words, Vincent.
Thank
Well,
you.
have a lovely afternoon, everybody. Okay,
You too.
maybe, yeah, maybe you should stop here because otherwise Heidi is gonna need a Kleenex or soft tissues here. Have a fantastic day, and may God bless you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.